I seem to be separate from life, from all, from love.
Okay.
And then in the emotional body, there's this search for love, because of course that's what we long for, that's what we love, that's what we feel we need. And so there's this movement towards, this movement to try and make a connection, to reestablish a connection. In the mental body, if I identify with this little somebody, I come out of this emptiness and peace, and suddenly I seem to be this little somebody, and that seems scary. It seems like, whoa, there's this whole overwhelming everything, and I'm here, I'm this little somebody, and I start to think, how can I survive? How can I retract to the mental body? There's the movement away to try and be safe, and to look from here and to see, how can I be safe? So that's trying to escape into the mental knowing and strategizing and thinking and doubting and wondering. And this movement away, also often we find those are people who prefer to witness something from somewhere further away, or think about it rather than just engage and fully be plunged right into life. Okay, so there you have these three basic corners, and those are people who identify with the physical body mainly, and there's oftentimes an energy of anger and the movement against that drives it. You have people who mainly identify with the mental body and who tend to be very mental and thinking a lot and rather take a little distance and look from a little safe further away. And there are people who identify mainly with their emotional body, and they think the emotions are what real, and that's what matters. And they try to make a connection by moving towards.
And we're all basically one of those three basic types, but of course we also have the other two types,
exactly,
but not quite so strong.
Yeah, we all have all of those available.
Yes. Okay.
And it's one we identify with, and it's one we're stuck in, so to say. You could say that is the fixation. That's where it's fixated.
Okay. And so, do you think most people have a fair idea of which is the most pronounced of those three, so they know basically?
Well, what's tricky here, of course, is that oftentimes people do not get that from these three basic movements, because, ironically, in the very center points, as I said, there's this structure, and then we have an externalized and an internalized version for each of these points. And in the center point, often that is what's not experienced. So at the very top of the Enneagram, at the top of the triangle, we find the number 9, which is not aware of anger, which has turned this anger so deep against itself, so deeply inside.
So it's hidden away there.
It's hidden away there.
And they might think, well, they don't have it, but it's
yes. So these are the people.
Inside.
All of the people on the whole Enneagram. The 9s are the people of all the people in the world seem the least angry. Actually, for them, it's the hardest to even get angry.
Right.
So they're rather characterized by an apparent absence of anger. Although, well, some are a little more obvious than others, but once you get a little closer and you get to know them, you notice that it's really built on this volcano that could explode in every moment. Or sometimes then when it's built up enough, it just blows off at something insignificant.
Yeah.
Or oftentimes they act out passive-aggressively, really by hurting themselves. Accidents, a lot of accidents, and, really also physically hurting themselves in different ways. And oftentimes feeling very sad at being the victim of others, because this anger does not seem available to them. So they can also not say no, or this is what I want, or all of this energy, all of this push, as you said earlier, that that we all have that to push our way through life. Sometimes that's what they can't do, because that seems too dangerous. Because in a way, there's a sense, on some level, there is a sense of how deep that is and how strong that is. So there's a fear that, whoa, if I let that go, I might just destroy everything.
Yeah. So you told me before we started the interview that you're able to caricature every type of Enneagram type, and I'm just wondering if you can just run us through a little bit of sort of theatre, if you like. On you talked about a little bit about the number 9. You referred to number 1 as you were number 1 originally, or felt you were number 1. So just take us through the different types.
Okay.
And
So, well, the 9s often, they tend to then get very tired and exhausted. It's like just the exhaustion from the suppressing the anger, using up that energy. Often they're very round people, also physically. Just comfort is a very big thing there, and
so
they tend to agree with everything and be
they're very round
friendly
physically.
people.
Okay.
Yes, not always, but a lot.
Yeah.
And they get very tired. Then oftentimes it's not necessarily the laziness. Laziness is the passion there that really mean well. Although they can stay on the sofa and just watch TV and be comfortable with a beer and chips as their preferred way of passing time, they can be very active too, though. But there's a lack of this real.
So they like beer and chips, do they?
Yeah, most of
Okay.
them do.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the as I said, the falling asleep on the rage and not allowing
Okay.
it. Then we have the externalized version of that, which is Enneatype 9, which says, yeah, I am angry, and that's damn right, because you did something wrong, and I'm going to tell you what's wrong with you.
Right.
Okay, so there the anger is very apparent. It's right up front.
Yes. So in a way that's easy to deal with, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. And often Enneatypes 8 are the easiest to spot, Like most people know, oh,
Yeah.
yeah, right, immediately, It's like the archetype is the boss or the warrior, Those are the people who are like right in your face and they let you know. Often for women it's harder to be 8, so women sometimes are not as obvious, but most 8 men's are very easy to spot. They
They're
leave
quite, but they're often bosses, aren't they?
yeah, they leave a trail of destruction.
Yes. Yeah. And I think my experience as a number 8 is they're not very easy to reason with.
No, they're not interested in reasoning. That's a
They
different
feel they're
Enneatype.
right. They know they're
Yeah,
right.
they just,
and
that's right. That's one of the diagnostic questions Eli often asks an 8, to check out the 8. He says, how do you know you're right? And they say, well, that's not a question of knowing. I just am.
right. So you referred to someone called Eli. He was one of your main
Yeah,
teachers.
he's my main Enneagram teacher.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Do you want to hear more of the other types?
yeah, let's
also?
go around
Okay.
them quickly. Yeah. Yeah.
So the 1, on the other hand, the 1
So you've gone from 9 to 8. Now you're
9,
going
8,
to
1,
Okay.
on the top, the
Yes.
anger and physical
Okay.
points, different ways of dealing with anger. 9 falls asleep, 8
Right.
acts it out, and 1 turns it in on themselves, but stays very sharply awake with it. And there's a sense of it's wrong to be angry. And there's a perfectionism. So this perfectionism, though, is fueled by anger, but at the same time, it's not right to be angry. So there's this, it's kind of leaking out on the side. There's a high tension.
Okay.
Usually 1s are very, very tense, also in their body, extremely upright. Often you can see it in the face, and there's this kind of, which you can see in my face sometimes, I'm told. There's a certain rigidity and a certain seriousness or intensity, And oftentimes everybody around does feel the anger very much. It comes out very sharp.
Right.
Like